Okay, Shavua Tov. We're going to continue in Masechet Chagiga. We're on Daf Chav Bet Amud Aleph. We're right across the Tosafot Lo Mikabelim Minayu, where it says V'had Rava v'derve'ila Tanoihi. So last time we saw a machloket of Rava Ravila on the case in the Gemara in the Mishnah. The Mishnah said you should not tovel a keli b'toch keli when it comes to Kodesh, when it comes to Karbanot. But when it comes to Truma, you can. And the machloket was what was the reasoning? What was the reasoning of the Mishnah? So Rav Ela said the idea is of the chatzitza. What's the chatzitza? The interposition. It's because when one keli is laying on another keli, there is going to be a surface that is touching each other that the water will not be able to get in between. And so it doesn't make a difference if it's a large keli on top of another keli, a small keli on another keli. Any time there's a keli and another keli, there is an issue of chatzita. Whereas Rava understood the issue being keli, because keli is when I have a keli that I have small kalim inside, but the keli itself has a small hole. And we know that it has to be greater than 5 centimeters in order for hashaka, which is the flowing of the waters, to mix. And if the keli is tar, the bigger keli with a small hole is tar, and you put kalim inside there, and you put it in the mikvah, and it's a small hole, then the stuff inside do not become tar because the hole is too small and it's not hashekah, and the keli itself was tar. Right? So that was the machloket. So now the Gemara wants to say v'hadrava u'drabila tanayi. It's really a machloket tanayim. The Tanya, because it was told in the Braita, sal ve'gargutani shemil in kilin v'hit bilan. When you have a big vessel, you have a big basket, and you put kalim inside the big basket. Vein lekodesh, vein letruma toharin. Whether they're for kodesh, whether for truma, they're going to be tar. Who is this? Who is this? This is the opinion of Rava, right? Because it's big, right? If it's big and it's no problem with the small hole, everything is tar, even for kodesh. Abba Shaul says no. Latruma, yes, we allow it, like we have in the Mishnah of a lola kodesh, because there's still an issue of a chatzita. Therefore, because of kodesh, we won't do it. So the Gemara says ihachi. Now, if the issue is because of chatzita, ihachi truma nami. So truma also. Why are we worried about kodesh and not by truma? At the end of the day, it's really not really chatzitza, right? Because the guy who's doing it, he's going to know some halacha, and he's going to make sure there's a little bit of a space in between. There's buoyancy and stuff like that. So why are we so dafka careful by karbonos not to do teilu keli, and by truma we're okay with it? Be also careful by truma, says the Gemara. So the man kamrina, who is saying the halacha for? Chaverim, for the religious people, for the people who know halacha. Chaverim meida yode. They already know. We don't have to tell them by truma. Make sure there's no chatzitza. They know not to make a chatzitza. If that's true, then kodesh also. Why are you saying by karbonis you can't do keli b'toch keli? Any more machmer there? Why be more machmer there? The chaverim, they know the halacha. The Gemara says, because the Amaretz will see what the Chaver is doing for Kodesh, and he's going to copy him, and he doesn't know to make sure there really is not a Chatzitza. He's just going to see Keli B'Toch Keli, and he come to do it. Therefore, don't do Keli B'Toch Keli. Even when you're careful, don't do it by Karbanis, because the Amaretz may copy you. Gemara says, Trumanami Avilei Amaretz V'Azl Matbil. What do you mean? The Truma also, the Amaretz will copy you. We'll see what you're doing. So how come we're not worried by Truma? Loi mikabilin minayu, because we don't accept truma from the Amaretz. We tell them, listen, we don't want your truma. Versus kodesh namin kabel minayu, don't accept their kodesh either. And if you don't accept their kodesh either, then what? If you don't accept their kodesh, then you can do keli b'toch keli, because they're not worried with them watching you, because you're not taking their kodesh anyway. Gemara says, no, you can't do that. Hava le eva. If you're going to not take their kodesh, you're going to create that they're going to be upset with us, and animosity, going to be anger, resentment, and that we don't want to have. Truma nami havile eva. Gemara says, so if you don't take their truma, they'll also get upset. Gemara says, lo he doesn't care if you don't take their truma. Why? He really wants to give the truma to his kohen friend who's also an Amoritz, so he has where to give it. But Kodesh, there's only one temple for Kodesh, which is run by Chaverim, run by Perushim, run by those who are religious. Uman Tana de and who is the Tana who says we're worried about Ava, and therefore for Kodesh, don't do Keli b'tosh Keli because they might see it from you, and we have to accept their Kodesh. Who is this Tana holds that we're worried about the Amaritzim being upset with us? Rabbi Yossi, it's Rabbi Yossi, the Tanya. Oh, Rabbi Yossi, we pray ma kol nemanin al taharas yayin v'shem kli hashana. Why do we believe everyone, including the Amaritz, that their oil and wine are tahor all year long? Why? Because of animosity. We don't want them making their own parallel religious institutions because, hey, they didn't accept me in the main shul. They didn't accept me in the temple. Therefore, I'm going to go make my own things. We don't want that. Therefore, we're going to say that they are careful when it comes to shemen and comes to yain because they know they have to bring it up to the mikdash. And therefore, we say it is tar all year long. According to who do we accept nowadays? Testimony, edut, from the Amoritz, Kiman, Rabbi Yossi. It's like Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says if we don't accept it, then they are going to have an animosity. They're going to make their own courts. We don't want them to have their own courts. We want to follow the halachic courts. Therefore, we accept their testimony. Rashi says that that's not true according to the Rabbanan. That's Rabbi Yossi's position. It's not true according to the Rabbanan. The Gemara Pesachim say we don't accept it. The Shulchan Aruch brings down the halacha that we do accept an Amaritz's testimony only if the Amaritz is a basic good guy. He tries to keep mitzvahs. He's a kind fellow. He's a nice fellow, and he tries to do the things. He just doesn't know all the details. He's the guy we can accept testimony from. But if he's a Rasha, not kind, he doesn't keep any of the mitzvahs and stuff like that, you would not be able to accept testimony from him. Okay, so now the Gemara says, one second. Now, you told me true that, we don't take their truma, but we do borrow kalim from the Amaritz, and we even borrow kalim for truma, v'nechush l'sheila. So let's be careful and we shouldn't do a keli b'tosh keli when toveling by truma because we borrow kalim from the Amaritz for truma, and if he sees us doing a vessel and another vessel for toveling, he will do the same thing, and then we're going to borrow his truma vessel, and it's not going to be tar. So v'nechush l'sheila. That's not. How do we know that we can actually borrow from a Amaretz vessels for truma? That's not. Kli charis matzil alakol divrei Beit Hillel. All right. This is an interesting case in the Torah. The Torah says that if you have a tumas mace, you have a dead body. Usually it fills up the whole place, the whole ohel, with tumah, right? And there's one thing that can somehow not get any tumah. If there is a earthenware pot that is covered, the tumah cannot get inside of it, and therefore it cannot go through the outside of it like other kalim, like metal kalim. Therefore, the klicheres, the earthenware vessel, stays tar, and everything inside of it stays tar as well. So much so, the Gemara gives an example where if there are 2 floors in a house and the dead body is on the first floor, and there is a klicheres, an earthenware vessel that's filling up the hatch, like a little hole in the wall, in the ceiling, where they have like a drop-down ladder. If they're filled up with a klicheres, the tumah cannot spread to the second floor. And that's what Beis Hillel says. Different Beit Hillel. Klicheres matzil alakol. Beit Shammai says, no. On the second floor, not everything remains tar. Elu matzil, elu al ocholim, v'al mashkim, v'al klicheres. The only things that stay tar are the food, drink, and the other earthenware vessels on the second floor. But people and metal vessels and stuff like that all become tamei. Amar lehem Beit Hillel Beit Shammai. Mipnei ma? Why do you make this distinction? Where are you getting this from? Amar Beit Shammai. Mipnei shehu tama al gabe amaretz. The ein keli tamei chaytzet. So when do we say that a kli cheres stops the tumas mace and you can't go through it and it stays what's inside of it is tahar? That's if the kli cheres itself is tahar. But if the kli cheres itself is tamei, then it doesn't work as a chatzitza. And we have a rabbinic institution that an Amma Aretz's kalim are all tamei. So if they are tamei, then the tumah goes through. So says Amar lehem Beit Hillel, but didn't you say that their food, drink, And klicheres up there is tar. So you're saying if it is tar, if you're saying that it's that the keli itself is tar, so nothing stopped it. So how could these things be tar? I'm limit shamai. No. When I said that the food, drink, and the klicheres that are up there are tahar le'atzmo tiharnu. I said for themselves, for the Ame'aretz, it's tahar. Aval, nitahir et hakeli, shetarto l'chav v'lo. I said that the food, drink, and the klicheres up there, which the chaverim, the Perushim never borrow from them anyway, for them it's tahar. Really, it's tamei, but for them it's tahar because they're not going to listen to us anyway. But for the kli, that's the keli that's made out of metal, right? Which we shehitarto l'chavalo, we're going to borrow from them and use it. We have to tell them it's tamei. And the reason the Beit Shammai is if you're going to tell them the food, drink, and klicheres, which really have no way to fix, and you're telling them that it's tamei, they're not going to listen to you. They're going to say, "Hey, it's not tamei. Leave me alone." But metal and people, which is easy to tell, they'll listen to it and say, "Okay, fine. You know what?" So therefore, they'll agree and they'll tell us when it's tamei. Tanya, Yeshua. Before we go on to the question of here, you see that you could borrow vessels from Hamaretz and how we don't say Keli to Keli issue by Truma. Before we get there, the Gemara brings another story. Tanya, Yeshua. Yeshua, when he was learning this of Beit Shammai, he said, "I'm embarrassed by his words." According to Beit Shammai, there's a woman and she has a kneading pot, and the kneading pot's made out of metal, and the pot, and she's kneading dough inside. So according to Beit Shammai, the tumah gets up to the second floor for the people and metal stuff, but the food not. So the betzek, the dough is tahar, and the lady and the pot are tamei. Does that make any sense to you? Oh, lugin, malin, mashkin, and if there are metal beverages, baskets that are holding metal vessels that are holding fluid, lugin tamei, right? Tumat shiva. The pots are tamei for 7 days, as it is a tumas mace. Umashkin toharin, but the drink inside is tahar. Makes no sense. So nit pal like tamid echad mitamid Beit Shammai. One of the students of Beit Shammai said, "Amar loy, Amar lechad tamid shel Beit Shammai." Let me explain to you. Amar loy Amar. He says, "Come and tell me." Amar lo. So he told to him, "Call tamid chaytzis and chaytzis or ein chaytzis." So the kli tamid is the kli cheres. Does it chaytzit? Does it make an interposition? Does not let it go? The tumas mace pass it. Amar lo ein chaytzis. No, if it's already tamid, it goes through. So kli shel amaretz tamid tar is the kli amaretz tamid tar. He says, "Amar lo tamid." Now, what happens if you tell the guy, when you tell the Amaretz that your kli cheres is tamei? Klum mashgiach alecha. Will he listen to you? No. He'll tell you shalitar v'shalacha tamei. You listen parish. My stuff are all tar. Your stuff are all tamei. Leave me alone. That's why Beit Shammai made his gezerah, because he knows if you tell them the kli cheres, the food, the drink, is tamei, he's not going to listen to you because he's going to lose out. But the metal stuff and the people, okay, he'll do it. He's not going to lose out. It's a quick fix. The Yad Halach Rabbi Yeshua. Yeshua understood now. He went and he nishtatach al kivrei Bet Shammai. He went and he bowed himself and prostrated himself on the graves of Bet Shammai. Amar nanati lechem atzma Bet Shammai. And he said, I've spoken against you. Chas v'shalom. What did I do? Umas tu mod lechem kach. If your hidden explanations are so logical, how much logical is your explanatory explanations? From that day on, he fasted and fasted and fasted in a form of tshuva and repentance for speaking ill about Bet Shammai. Anyway, Ketani mehat lechavlod. It says that even the parush can borrow kelim from the Amaretz. That's why we tell him that his metal pots are tamei. Alma shaylina minahu. We see we can borrow it, and if we can borrow from it, then we shouldn't let the Chaver do keli b'tach keli when tabling truma, because we borrow from them truma stuff. So truma vessels. The Gemara says, "Nana, what is it? When we borrow from them, kishalina minahu mat bilinin lahu. We tovel them. We right away tovel them. So there's no worry. Okay, so it's a tamei thing. Wait, so ihanchi, if that's the truth, neharlo beitila Beit Shammai. That's what Beit Shammai Beit Hillel should have said. Listen, you know why I let everything is tar anyway? Because anyway, if we take it from them, we total it. So who cares? The Gemara says you can't say that. In our case, there was a dead body, and when you have a dead body and in the metal becomes tameh, you have to sprinkle on it on the third and seventh day, and then tovel it. The whole tahara process. And usually people do not loan something for 7 days. They say, okay, the parish, the chaver is borrowing from the Amaritz. He says, okay, I need to take it for 7 days. I have to cleanse it, right? 3 and 7, the total, and then I'm going to use it. No one does that, and therefore, that's why Beit Shammai said it has to be tameh. And they're going to listen, and they're going to do the 3 and 7. Therefore, when we take it, it's going to already be out of that. Now, based on this, we are assuming that we are trusting the so we say we take the keli and we tovel it. So we do not believe the Hamaretz that he told him Tanya, but we learned al taharat tibilat. We do believe them that they say they were tovel from Tfilat May. Amar Bai says, no, it's not a question. Like Kash. Hi Gufa, how we can. It depends. On his own body, we believe him that he takes it serious. But Caleb, maybe he doesn't take it so serious, and therefore we don't trust him that he says his kelim were tovel. Rava Amar, Idu Caleb. Really both of them. But like Kasha are in the Caleb. The Amar, and sometimes yes, and sometimes no. The Amar Ba'olam, Lo hitbalti kli b'tach keli, v'had Amar Zati Yavel Lo hitbalti b'kli she'en b'fev kishef oferet hanod. If he says, I were told Kalim, and I've always made sure not to put a Keli inside of a Keli. We believe him. He knows the basic halacha. But if he tells you, sometimes I do Keli b'tach Keli because I know the 5 centimeter hole halacha. And that we're not going to trust him because they're not so careful in halacha. So if they know this little detail, they're going to probably not listen to it, and they're going to go around it and stuff like that. Therefore, we don't believe it. Tanya, never aretz lemar peris lohichshuru avo eno never lemar peris shuru avo lamin. We can trust the Amaretz with the basic halacha that make sure your food don't become liquid on it, so therefore it can be kabel tuma. We can make he can tell us nothing, no liquid touched it. But if he says liquid touched it, but no tummy touched it, okay, we trust you about the liquid. But when it comes to the tummy, you're not so careful with tumah itself. So therefore, we cannot trust you on the details that it didn't become tummy. But do we really trust him about his own body? Abai said we trust him. Then he says his body was cleansed. Vantanya, chaver shaba lahazot mazin alav miyad. If a chaver, a parush, says I was tummy mace and I counted 3 days, right away we sprinkle him. Amaret shaba lahazot. But if the Amaret comes and says 3 days, he was in a love. Anshi asem b'fanei. We have to actually say no. We need you to wait 3 days now from when we know you're saying this, and then we sprinkle him. So how do we trust him later to say he was tovel after the 3 and the 7? Since we were careful with him in the beginning and we made him be 3 days in front of us, so therefore in the end we were makel with him and we trusted him to say he finished the process. And that is the Gemara for today. Wishing everyone a Shavua Tov.